Welcome back to another episode of the Business Meeting. Today we're going to be giving our top 10 playoff performers of all time in the NBA. First, I'm going to go to Bresden, and we're going to ask about why you chose your top 10 and why you put them in that order.
So I was thinking about it like we were looking at it if we had to take a guy for one team for one series, we want him to win that series for us. So that's kind of what I was thinking about it. So to me, longevity is I did factor that in a pretty good amount, because I have guys who I think peaked higher than other guys who they had the longevity and they didn't have as many bad series as other guys. So for me, I would say it's about 30% peak, 30% longevity, and then the rest just eye test, I guess, because I didn't see half of these guys, but some of the guys that I have seen, when you see those guys on the court, you can just tell they're the upper echelon of playoff performers compared to the all-time greats.
Yeah, no, for me, my main reasoning behind my list was basically just all time, like how they did over the time, which is completely different from yours. But I mean, when you're compiling a list of the all-time greats, it's going to be different no matter who's doing the list and who's not doing the list.
Yeah.
And now,
What you
Aaron, I
think?
want to ask about you, Aaron.
For my list, it was a lot of longevity, um, and a lot of just like peak, like Breslin said. It's kind of you gotta have a healthy mix of both. But another thing I took into account was competition, like who you went against. I think that means a lot to me.
Okay. Well, we'll see how consistent everybody is throughout the list if they stick to what they
Yeah,
say they built the list on.
yeah. So, we're gonna ask Brez first. Who's your number 10
My number
and
10,
why?
this guy has a very, very high peak. The past couple of years, he hasn't been able to get over the hump just because, and I don't blame him. I blame roster construction, injuries, just a lot of luck factors. But for me, Kawhi Leonard is one of the 10 greatest playoff performers of all time. He has the 2014 run, where obviously you see what he did to Bron, Finals MVP as a second year player. Um, and then 2019, obviously carrying the Raptors to the finals. 2021, putting up 65 effective field goal percentage or some shit like that. And then even this year, he was killing the Suns until he got hurt. Like it's everything. The only time Kawhi is not all time great is when he's hurt.
And it
So
sucks that he always is. My number 10 is the Larry Bird. And that is basically just because his all-time stats in the playoffs are pretty insane. I mean, he averages a double-double, that being 23 points and 10 rebounds, also with seven assists. But like when you think of the 80s, early 90s, you think Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. And the Celtics and Lakers kind of ran the 90s and eight or the early 90s and the 80s. Not the early 90s because that was Jordan, but the 80s for sure. And I think you can't deny his playoff greatness, even though Brez, and I know you're not the biggest Larry Bird guy because I mean, I'd like to hear your reasoning behind why, but
well, the reason I left Larry off because I was thinking about putting him 10, but he just has so many bad performances in the finals, and also he doesn't have the longevity. So neither him or Kawhi have the longevity of like some of these other guys like Tim Duncan, LeBron. But I think Kawhi just peaked higher. Like Larry Bird has a finals where he averaged fucking 13 points a game. He had 8 points in game four. Like his first finals ever, he was terrible and they won. So he gets paraded for winning the finals, but he's had a bunch of very bad playoff performances where you don't really see that from Kawhi. So that's just why I put Kawhi over him.
no, yeah, and then with that just goes back to the difference in how we chose our top 10 and mine being longevity and just I guess consistency over time, which Larry Bird had a very long and very wealthy career. But let's just Aaron, who is your number 10?
I had Bill Russell at 10. I think the 11 ring speaks for itself. I think that automatically puts him in the top 10. I just couldn't bring myself to put him above any of these other guys. I have 1 through 9, just because I can't name 6 players that he played against.
It's a
It's
great
a fair
Maybe
point.
maybe
point.
I'm maybe I'm a casual. I don't know, but you got to respect Bill Russell. He's the people's
Yeah.
goat. He's the people's
Yeah.
goat. But
Yeah, for sure.
there was no rationale that I could bring myself to put him above anybody else.
Um, with that being said, who's your number 9?
Number 9, I have KD. I think y'all may have him higher, but for me, he's never won outside of Golden State, and
Hot take.
I think he is an outstanding player in the playoffs. Like if we're going just by like who you want to have on your team for a 7 game series, I think he'd be a little higher in that rationale. But just because he hasn't won on his own is why I can't bring myself to put him above anybody else.
Hot take. My list. I do not have KD, so that might be in y'all's head. That might be something crazy. But like
That's
I was just
wild to
looking.
me.
I was looking at the scope of it all. Like longevity was a big thing for me. Honestly, just like when you think of like the NBA playoffs, like who do you well, not like that, but like who do you like all time, every year, just like in and out, just going at it, going at it, going at it, and then just the greatness of what they did in the playoffs. But I guess like Katie kind of did slip my mind when I was making this list. He may be the right there with Aaron, like 9 or 10, but I'm pretty confident in my list, to be honest with you.
For me, number 9, I went Shaq. Shaq has the three-peat with the Lakers is the most dominant performance since Wilt. But once you look after, like that's his peak. That's probably the greatest peak in playoff basketball ever, outside of MJ and maybe like 2009 Kobe. But to me, after that, like in Miami when they won it, he was averaging like 13. And then like he was playing in Boston, he was old and fat and he was just terrible. Like he has so many like after that three-peat, he has so many man playoff performances. So his peak was insane, but and even before even pre-peak, he knocked out Jordan in the second round in '95. Like he has a really healthy resume, but I don't know. I think there's some other guys that would be able to get it done better than Shaq. So Shaq's my 9.
I totally agree. Shaq is also my number 9, but for number 8, I put Kobe, his teammate. I mean,
Number who? You put who?
number 8, I put Kobe Bryant. Hey, his two separate runs at the titles with Paul Gasol or Pau Gasol and Shaq, I think that they're up there for some of the greatest. He is an absolute killer in the playoffs. Let's just say it. I mean, he is, and that you might be looking at me crazy because I didn't put Katie on this list, but I have Kobe.
No, that's not. No, I
No,
think
I mean
Kobe.
like
No, I think the issue is Kobe should be higher.
Kobe should
Not
be high. Well, he's 8, and you're gonna laugh at my top 7 because I mean I got some older guys in there. But I mean that it is what it is. I mean that's just how I made my list. To be honest with you,
yeah.
Aaron,
For
who's
me,
your
uh,
A? Or go ahead,
yeah,
Bress.
go ahead, Aaron.
Good
Aaron.
All right,
God, Eli. Golly.
Yeah, Laker.
I got Larry Bird at 8. Um it's kind of tough to rank Larry Bird because I think his career was shorter than it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
I
he
don't know
hurt his
about
back in like
yeah.
'89.
Didn't he hurt his back like shoveling a driveway or something?
Yeah,
Stud. Stud.
yeah,
I'm
that's
biased towards
gangster.
Larry Bird. But Larry Bird at his peak was elite on both sides of the ball. Larry Bird has 3 rings, two Finals MVPs. Who won the other Finals MVP with that?
Cedric Maxwell. That was the first ring they won.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. But I got Larry Bird at 8. I got him over KD just because more rings in less amount of time. And I don't know. KD versus Larry Bird 1-on-1, I'm taking KD. But just Larry Bird's resume was better in a shorter amount of time.
I
All
agree.
right. Well, I mean, we've been talking about the guy. My number 8 is KD. I would love to put him higher. He just doesn't have the rings that I would desire for the higher spot, but he has some of the greatest playoff performances of all time. You got to think about it. The guy came into the league 23 years old. Luka right now, how old is Luka? Luka's like 24. KD was 23, averaging 32 and 8 against peak LeBron. 2013 is the greatest LeBron we've ever seen athletically, defensively. He was 23 years old playing with 21-year-old Westbrook, whatever, however Harden and Ibaka were, and took them boys to 6 games against LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh. Not only that, 2020 against the Bucks, he has no Kyrie, no Harden, takes the Bucks to 7, and he was averaging 35. And not only that, before he got hurt, the year the Raptors won the finals, do you know the only guy to ever average 30 points on 50, 40, 90 in the playoffs, Aaron?
A lot of me.
Kevin Durant in 2019. You remember when the Clippers got 2 games off the Warriors and then KD had the press conference, he said, "I'm fucking Kevin Durant." And then he went 40, 40, 50 to end the series. That's like I understand he doesn't have the rings, but he has some of the greatest performances we've ever seen. So I have to put him up there.
Go ahead and give us your number 7.
Number 7 is Kareem, a guy who's you could say too low, but to me, he never got it done. But same thing with Kevin Durant. I think honestly, I debated putting KD over him. He just has the rings and the longevity. But I mean, Magic was the best player on the Lakers, and then when he won with the Bucks, Oscar was averaging 25. Like he never won without an elite point guard or an elite team. And not only that, like
Sounds a lot like KD.
that's why I said that's why I put him over him. That was
yeah.
But anyways, before I was rudely interrupted, back to what I was saying. Kareem, like I think it was 81 when he went out game 7 against the Sixers. Magic came in and dominated. Like he was never I feel like he was never like the focal point of a team on a champion, except for the Bucks, the one ring. I don't know. But I mean he has the longevity, and I said that's important on my list. So that's why I got him at 7.
7 for me is Billy Bill. Bill Russell, like Aaron said, the 11 ring speaks for itself when you're talking about his playoff greatness. But also, like he said, he probably would be higher if it wasn't for like the time he played in. I mean, the guy averaged close to 20 points and almost 20 rebounds in the playoffs and over his long career where he won 11 titles, which says enough about him. But it's such early time, but I'm sure he doesn't care about that at all. Aaron, who's your 7?
I have the Diesel, Big Diesel at 7 for me. 28 points per game, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks, 4 rings, 3 Finals MVP. Come on now. Arguably the greatest peak in basketball history.
Go ahead and give us your
Okay.
6 as well.
At 6, I've got Steph. I got Steph at 6. I don't think it's anything against Steph. I think my top 5 is pretty solid. I can't sit here and knock Steph. Like 4 rings. He's been to like what 6 out of the last 8 finals. Like dude keeps showing up. Yeah, he plays for the Warriors. They're a dynasty, but that dynasty is centered around him. And also he's the greatest playoff shooter of all time.
Is he?
Name one better.
Ray
In the
Allen.
playoffs. In the playoffs.
08, the Celtics were winning games because of Ray Allen.
Dude, Steph averages over like 40% from 3 in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I'm
And
not saying he's not. I'm just
no, he is 100% the greatest shooter ever and the greatest playoff shooter ever.
I would debate
If we
Ray
want to have
Allen,
that,
but I'll give it
if we want to
Steph.
have that debate, we can make a whole nother
Yeah,
video.
that's a whole nother. Yeah,
It's different. There's levels to it, man.
I'd like to. For number 6, I had Wilt, just a freaking dog. I mean, Breslin denies Wilt Chamberlain's greatness quite a bit. I'd also like to talk about that in another video. But, the man he averaged 25 rebounds and about 22 points. 4 championships, is it? I can't remember, but, that just, I mean, his stats speak for themselves, career and playoff career. And that's really all I got to say about the Wilt Chamberlain.
number 6, I went Timmy D. As far as peaks, he has some of the highest peaks ever for a big man. So that's why I put him above Kareem, Shaq, guys like that. And also the longevity. Even when he was like 38, he was still winning rings in 2014. But the problem about that ring, and really any year after like 08, like there was a time where Duncan couldn't get past Kobe. And to me, that's like when you're looking at guys, and this is no Shaq. This is Kobe with Shmush Parker, Kwame Brown, Shannon Brown. Like this is Kobe with sorry teams, and he has a better record against Timmy in the playoffs. Not only that, like I said, 2014, he was probably like the third, fourth best player on that team. Kawhi was better. Ginobili was better. Um, Tony Parker was better. Now I get it; he was the defensive anchor, leadership stuff like that. But just winning rings as like the third and fourth best player, I think he would be a lot higher if it was only just his peak.
Who is your number 5, Preston?
My number 5 is LeBron James. I mean, you just look at the guy. He shitted the bed so many times in the playoffs. So many times. I can't put him over these other guys. I can't because these other guys were certified champions. These other guys didn't switch teams. These other guys stayed with teams and they rocked out and they won with bums. So
The
LeBron, I
sign of
mean,
the
yeah,
times, sir. It's a sign of the times.
but is
That's
it
all I
real?
gotta
And
say.
also, Aaron said competition factored into his. If competition factors into yours, then you have to lessen the LeBron James resume because he's for 20 years the motherfucker faced DeMar DeRozan was his toughest competition. Of course, you're gonna make it to 8 finals in a row. Of course. Who are you playing? You're playing DeMar DeRozan and Blake Griffin on the Pistons and bums. You're playing the Celtics with Isaiah Thomas, a little midget, as their best player. What are we talking about? The guy, he never had competition. So that's why LeBron is my 5. He's great, obviously, 4 rings, but he's been outplayed by his teammates. He's been outplayed by other teams, and he faced weak competition. So 5.
I'd like for you to enlighten me on who on his team is outplaying him. Maybe they've
Uh,
hit some bigger
D
shots
Wade,
for
D
his.
Wade, and D Wade outplayed him in 2011. Chris Bosh outplayed him in 2011.
I mean, we could say AD this year, but that's
Anthony
just like,
Davis in the bubble. Not this year.
uh,
AD was
it is what it is.
in the
I'll give
bubble.
you that. I'll
AD
give you
was.
that. I'll give you that. For real, I'll give you that.
You got to think. I mean, I would have to think about it. But like I said, that's enough instances. 11 D Wade, 11 Chris Bosh, and the bubble AD. That's
That's
3 instances.
my number 5 is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. His greatness outs like he's just one of the most well-known basketball players of all time, and his greatness of just scoring the rock. He scored average about 25 in the playoffs. Not many like rebounds or not many rebounds or assists or anything like that, but I just think he's one of the greatest big man ever, and his like this aura around him was made in the playoffs because he's won 6, is it?
Uh,
5, yeah, that's what I was thinking. But it's Kareem, and you did kind of have him low in my opinion, but it is what it is. Aaron, who's your 5?
I've got Kareem at 5 as well. I mean, like you said, just longevity and consistency and the most unguardable shot ever. Not only that, but kind of funny, he's played 237 playoff games. Kind of a random fact. That's like almost 3 full seasons. So
that's ridiculous. Yeah.
kind of nuts. Just speaks to the longevity that Kareem has. And honestly, if we bring up that argument of who would you rather have in a 7-game series, it would be tough to pick him over guys like Shaq.
Yeah.
But just what he did as a whole, his resume as a whole, I think it puts him well above Shaq.
Go ahead and give your number 4.
At number 4, I got Timmy D. Got Timmy D at number 4, the cornerstone of the Spurs franchise. His like stats aren't all that impressive, but just the body of work as a whole and what he did is just incredible. It's so consistent every year in and year out. They were always in the finals.
Consistency is a big thing with Timmy G. I had him at 4 as well, and like it kind of just speaks for itself. Like year in and year out, he was in there and in there doing his thing. 5 championships, long career. One of the like most well liked or most loved players in NBA history, just because the way he carried himself, and it just like when you think of the Spurs, in my opinion, I think of Tim Duncan. I mean, a lot of people probably think of like just Greg Popovich, but like I think of Tim Duncan because that's who I grew up watching, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you're not like nothing bad to say really about Tim Duncan.
All right. My number 4 was the guy himself, the greatest playoff point guard of all time, Magic Johnson. He was the best player on all the championship teams. 5 rings, I think. And I think he was in the NBA for either 11 or 13 years, and he made the finals 8 times. Like that's insane. That's otherworldly. A knock on him, the reason don't have him at like 2 or 3 is because the competition, the 80s West was god awful. So this guy, I mean, he's playing tough competition in the finals. Obviously, the Pistons, the Celtics, like those are two of the greatest teams ever. But his competition was bad. But like I said, he prevailed every time. 8 finals appearances in 11 or 13 years. He did everything. When Kareem went out, he played. He didn't really play the 5 that game. He just did the tip off. People say he played the 5 against the Sixers, but he didn't. He just did the tip off. But he still was average. He scored like 50 and 10 that game. So has some of the greatest iconic performances ever. I'm going with Magic.
Yeah, well, my number 3 is we're on number 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my number 3 is LeBron. Personally, I think he's the GOAT. You're probably like, why don't you have him at 1? Because, I mean, there's better players in the playoffs. I'll say that. LeBron that's where a knock on him. But I will say he has done it for so long that I just think that just outshines everything that he has done in and out. Or I think that just outshines his knocks on him. LeBron has 8 years in a row to the finals. You could say
playing DeRozan though, and Gordon Hayward and these guys.
That's what I mean. You could say that, but I mean, also, like you just said, it's a knock on Magic as well. But
Magic won in the finals. That's the difference.
That's why I have Magic ahead of LeBron all time in the playoffs. He's my number 2. But I mean, I really like. I just think LeBron's the GOAT. He's just probably my favorite player ever, and I can't help but defend the guy. But go ahead, Aaron. Who's your number 3?
Number 3, I got Kobe.
Do you have?
I got
no
Kobe
LeBron?
at number 3.
No LeBron on your list? Is that what I'm hearing? Or no
Magic? No. LeBron's there, buddy.
LeBron's up there. Don't worry about him.
No, where's Magic?
Magic's not on my list.
Aaron.
Hot take?
Magic's my number 2.
Oh my God.
That's a hot take. I mean, you could say my hot take about Kobe because I had him at 8 or no KD. But I mean, having no Magic on this list is kind of crazy. As a Laker fan as well.
Continue.
I got Kobe at number 3. I stand by it. I got Kobe at number 3. 5 championships, 25, 5 and 4, 2 finals MVPs. Come on now. As many clutch shots as you can count. Easy number 3. Easy number 3.
All right, I'll go ahead and get into my number 3. Y'all was disrespecting this guy. I get it. He didn't play competition, but he's the greatest defender ever. Not only that, 11 rings in 13 seasons. He didn't lose, and you can say he didn't face competition. He faced the Logo and Wilt Chamberlain on the same team, and Elgin Baylor and Gail Goodrich. There's 4 Hall of Famers starting right there, and he beat them all.
Need 2 more.
2 more.
I asked for 6 earlier.
6 people he played against. 6 people he played against.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Buffering.
It would take me a while. I'm not gonna say
nothing.
11 rings is pretty
that's
crazy.
Insane. So
it's stupid.
I refuse to discredit that. I don't care.
I had him higher than Aaron. I had him at like 6 or 7, which is, I guess, like you could say it's a knock, but like I just feel like if you put him in today's game, it just ain't the same. You know what I mean?
But that's not his fault.
Yeah, I mean it isn't. It definitely isn't. And I guess that kind of goes against my rules when I'm ranking these players, because I really kind of just threw time out of the window. But seeing the name Bill Russell, it just makes me think of like somebody that's just really, really old and just different, like a different time of basketball. It wasn't the same back then.
Yeah. Go ahead and I'll give my number 2. I got the Bean himself, elite defender, elite shot maker. Even when they were 3-peating with Shaq, Shaq was the most dominant guy in the world. You know who was closing them fourth quarters? Because Shaq's big dumb ass couldn't hit a free throw. You give that ball to Kobe and you get the hell out the way. That's what was happening from 2000 till 2013 when he tore his Achilles. He was that guy. I mean, you look at it. Look at the team. After Shaq left, look at the guys he played with. I mean, he played with absolute bums. Kobe has probably 1 or 2 bad playoff series ever. That's 06 against the Suns and 07 against the Suns, and 06 he missed the playoffs. But he averaged 35. Like, he was playing with bums. He doesn't have instances in the finals where he shit the bed. It never happened. Kobe was consistently great. The greatest defense of all time analytically is the 08-09 Celtics. And you know who beat them guys with Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum? Kobe. Kobe didn't have a top 20 player in the league. I'm sorry. Pau Gasol wasn't top 20, and he was beating the best defense ever. If it wasn't for Jordan, he'd be number one. He's literally Jordan, but just a little lesser version.
I already gave my number 2, that being Magic. Aaron, who's your number 2?
I got LeBron. I got LeBron.
That means a consensus number 1 of
The GOAT. The GOAT. I think
That
it's
was
number
good.
1 on all 3 of our lists in the playoff performers. What are we talking? How could you make an argument? I genuinely don't understand. But
longevity,
Aaron, give your
man.
LeBron. Give your
Bro
LeBron.
decided to play baseball, and I can't knock the GOAT LeBron James for that.
Why
Can't.
I have LeBron at 2 over
Yeah.
everybody else?
Yeah.
What's the goal of the playoffs? When your team gets in the playoffs, what's the goal?
Win the championship.
Man does it all.
Win the championship. Okay, so Kareem's a better playoff performer than Kobe.
No.
It's different, dude. LeBron is in that sucker every year, every single year. Not only that,
Aaron.
but everybody likes to bring up the whole 3-6 argument, 4-6 now, I guess. He faced the Spurs 3 times.
That's
Faced
not
the
my
Warriors
argument.
4 times. Dude, if it wasn't for the Warriors being the greatest basketball dynasty of all time, Braun would probably have like at least 6 or 7.
Aaron, are you serious?
Yes, 100%. If the Warriors did not exist, if Steph, Draymond, Clay, and Kevin Durant never were on the same team, LeBron would have 6, maybe 7 rings. And I guarantee you, if Michael Jordan had to face that Warriors team 4 times, he wouldn't have 6.
Were the Heat
Guarantee it.
in 2011 when Bron, D Wade, and Bosh teamed up? Were the Heat the undisputed best team in the league?
Okay, the Dallas series was, dude, that was a fever
You
dream.
can't erase it. You
That was a
that is
fever
real
dream,
thing.
dude.
It happened.
That's a
That's
fever
not a
dream.
dream. That's real. I watched it. I literally watched every fucking game. I watched the guy get locked up by JJ Barea and Jason Terry.
Dude, that's like an anomaly. That's an
But
anomaly.
it
And
happened.
hey, let me tell you the difference between that and Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan's flunders happened in the second round. That happened in the first round. LeBron was always on the biggest stage.
Michael Jordan didn't have flunders. When he lost, when he got swept, he averaged fucking 40 points against the Celtics. He didn't have bad performances.
Did they make it to the finals?
He scored 63 points.
Has LeBron ever gotten put out in the first round?
I will
Has
say he's
LeBron-
missed the
Hey,
playoffs a few times, but you
I
know,
still
Does the
think
play
I
in?
still
Is the
think
play in the first
Michael-
round?
Oh, come on now.
but
hey-
I guess it technically is. But I mean,
When
that's
did the Lakers lose in the
LeBron.
play-in?
Against the Warriors.
In the play-in?
Yes.
When? What year? No.
That was like 2 years ago when it
I don't
was
think
the
the play was
No.
a thing 2 years ago, right?
Yes, it was.
Well, I guess my thinking
No,
on 2
we-
years
we
ago was
won-
2022 or 2020, but never mind. Continue, Aaron.
Did we lose play-in that year? Yeah, we did.
Yes, you did. That never Kobe. You think Kobe's losing a fucking play-in game? Are you serious? Do you really think Kobe would lose a play-in game?
Hello.
Hello?
Hold on. I'm double checking.
Aaron, they lost to the Warriors, bro.
Well, let's go ahead and say it. Number 1 is Preston.
Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
I hate to
greatest.
say it, but you know, when you go 6-6 in the finals, it's kind of hard to argue against your playoff greatness. But I will say who is he facing in the championships? Like, you know what I mean? Like the Blazers.
Magic Johnson? Magic Johnson!
Old Magic Johnson with AIDS, you know, like
Oh my
like,
God, with AIDS now.
Okay,
I
hey,
mean, I mean, it wasn't like Magic Johnson. Like, yes, it was, but it wasn't. Like, you know what I mean? It was old Magic Johnson.
The difference is though, he was facing guys out the East. He was facing the Pistons.
Yeah, good
the
point. That's
Celtics,
what I'm
the
saying. That's
Knicks.
why I'm not denying it. That's why I'm not denying his greatness. That's why he's number 1 on my list. But I will say the reason for his like the amount of championships is he made it there. Give him that completely. But coming out of the West, there was really nobody messing with like messing with Jordan and Pippen in the finals.
But I think that's the differences. I'm not arguing accolades or rings or what they did what the performances led to. All I'm arguing is the performances. Jordan has very, very minimal subpar performances in the playoffs. And I don't care about the rings. If Jordan would have averaged 40 and lost, he still would have been good.
Okay, hey, I double checked my mind. The Lakers did not lose in the play-in 2021. Do you remember LeBron hit that shot? They won in the play-in and got put out by Phoenix.
They got put out in the first round.
Okay,
Exactly.
but no, dude, LeBron was injured and Andre Drummond played like 40 minutes a game that series. That does not count.
I hate to cut you off,
Did
but we're running out of time and I want to finish this video. All right, thank you for tuning in. This has been the business meeting. Come back for okay. Who's that towards? Is that towards old men here down here?